A new Team Go Rocket Takeover event is starting around the world in Pokemon Go. And as always, I want you guys up to speed for this event. I'm really excited for it. Let's talk about it. Okay, Team Go Rocket is finally back after 4 months, with the event going down August 8th, 12 a.m. to August 12th, 11:59 p.m. Only about 4 or 5 days. Starting off, Shadow Cresselia is of course going to be returning as Giovanni's new Pokemon. There'll be new special research to get you a Black Rocket Radar, which we'll talk about in this video. And then you can go ahead and battle Giovanni from a Pokestop or from a balloon. And once you defeat him, you will of course catch a Shadow Cresselia. Quick tip, if you're battling Giovanni and you see he does not have a Shadow Cresselia in the back and it's still Shadow Groudon, cancel the battle, back out of it, because it won't get you a Shadow Cresselia. Shadow Cresselia, by the way, will be available after the event as well, all the way until the next Team Go Rocket event, so most likely, 2-3 months, so you have time if you don't catch it during the event. Now we have event bonuses during the event, of course, Team Go Rocket grunts appearing more frequently at Pokestops and in balloons, and also you can use a Charge TM, Elite or Regular, to forget frustration from your Shadow Pokemon. Yes, you can go ahead and use a TM on any Shadow Pokemon you have, move frustration, and start using moves from its regular move pool and actually get use out of it. Now, we do have exclusive Shadow Raids during the event, with the 1-stars of Shadow Mareep, Wooper, Cranidos, and Shieldon, the 3-star Shadow Raids of Nuzleaf, Manectric, and Vibrava, and the 5-star Shadow Raids exclusively on the weekend, August 10th and 11th, of Shadow Lugia. Yes, Shadow Lugia, which can of course be Shiny Shadow Lugia, is returning in Shadow Raids. Remember, this thing is absolutely insanely hard to take down. I will have a counter guide with tips on how to take it down soon, but it's minimum 5 people. Make sure you get the crew ready. You're not duoing, trioing, quadding this thing, and it's really annoying to catch. Wow, I'm out here really hyping up Shadow Lugia. Now, of course, during the event, the Team Go Rocket grunts do get completely rotated, with new ones coming in, and the new ones are going to include Shadow Timber, yes, Shadow Archon, and Shadow Tirtuga as our 3 new shadows releasing during this event, which will, of course, we'll talk about their meta relevancy soon. Now, not only the grunts, but the team leaders also got their Pokemon completely rotated. Starting with Arlo. Arlo is returning now with Shadow Anorith, which of course can be Shiny Shadow Anorith. It's going to have a 1 in 64 shiny rate as always. Sierra will be returning with Shadow Carvanha, which can of course be Shiny Shadow Carvanha, again 1 in 64 shiny rate, and Cliff returning with Shadow Lily, which can be Shiny Shadow Lily. Now, the Shiny Shadow Lily and the Shiny Shadow Anorith are the 2 new shiny shadows. We usually get 2 and then 1 returning. So if you want to hunt those 2 new ones, you can, but unfortunately none of these are too good, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Now, of course, we have exclusive research going down during the event, so let's run through it. So starting with the field research task, we have the task: defeat a Team Go Rocket Grunt for a mysterious component, or purify 3 Shadow Pokemon for a fast or a charged TM. If you need those TMs to remove frustration, go with those. We also have a new special research coming during the event that will get us the Black Rocket Radar. Now, the tasks haven't been confirmed, but most likely they're going to be similar to all the past Team Rocket events, so you can just refer to the tasks on screen, but I will leave in the pinned comments the official tasks once they get confirmed. We'll be going through a strategy further in the video on how to stack this research if you don't want to end up using that Black Rocket Radar and you want to save it for later. So stay tuned to the end of the video to learn that. There'll also be exclusive Pokeshop showcases during the event where you can enter event-themed Pokemon. Now, with the event details away, let's get right into it, starting with the event tips and what are going to be the best Shadow Pokemon to catch during this event. Now, at the moment, I don't know what the full Team Go Rocket lineup is, but I will link below LeakDuck where they go ahead and update what shadows are returning, which ones have left, etc., etc. Keep an eye on that. It probably takes like 2-3 days of the event before we really know. But what we do know is that Shadow Tirtuga, Archon, and Timber are coming to Pokemon Go. Are these any good? Now, unfortunately, Shadow Tirtuga, Shadow Archon, we can kind of just avoid. Archon and Tirtuga in their own aspect are not really good Pokemon. But Shadow Timber is a Pokemon we can definitely take a look at and see how good it is. Now, Conkeldurr was already a top fighting type Ray attacker, and with the new Shadow form, you're now looking at the number 3 overall fighting type Ray attacker and number 1 Shadow fighting type Ray attacker with the moveset of Counter and Dynamic Punch, DPS of 20.4, TDO of 507. So overall, an amazing Shadow to go ahead and grab. Make sure you do those fighting type grunts and grab those Shadow Timbers and remove frustration. Although I do actually want to give a little mention, Shadow Archeops is technically a little bit better of a rock type Ray attacker if we really want to mention it, but nothing insane. Okay, let's talk about the new leader Pokemon. Are they any good? Are they worth spending radars on and grinding? Well, first of all, Arlo's Anorith, you can really avoid this. This thing is not good. Shadow Anorith has no use. Shadow Carvanha, you can evolve, of course, into Shadow Sharpedo, which does see some niche play in some different Great League Cups with that insane damage you can do with those Shadow Waterfalls. You can also go ahead and catch the Shadow Carvanhas to purify them to prepare for a Hundo Mega Sharpedo in the future, so that's not a bad thing to do. And then finally, Cliff with the Shadow Lily, you could evolve into Shadow Cradilly, which does see play in some limited Great League Cups and limited Ultra League Cups from time to time, but overall not amazing. Overall, a little bit disappointed in the new Shadow Shiny Pokemon in the leader lineups. There really isn't a clear winner, and honestly, you might as well avoid them. Now let's talk about Giovanni and Shadow Cresselia. Is Shadow Cresselia worth a Black Rocket Radar, or is it better to go ahead and stack your radar, which we'll talk about in a second. Now, as far as raids go, Shadow Cresselia, not good at all. Cresselia's never been good for raids. It is a defensive Pokemon, it doesn't do a lot of damage. But what about for PvP? Well, here we have a chart showing regular Cresselia versus Shadow Cresselia, and it is an upgrade in the Great League. Anytime there's an X, by the way, and the deeper the X is, Cresselia wins that matchup, a circle it loses. Taking a look, scrolling down, everything is pretty similar, except Shadow Cresselia now can beat Feraligatr, but it now loses to Gligar, but now it can beat Pelipper, but now it loses to Stunfisk, but now it beats Quagsire more, doesn't do as well as against Guzzlord. As you can see by this chart, Shadow Cresselia, it's kind of a side grade. It picks up a couple good wins, it loses a couple good wins. Overall, in my opinion, for the Great League, you can use regular, you can use Shadow. I prefer the regular Cresselia because I think power of Cresselia is its bulk, but still being able to do a little more damage is nice. In the Ultra League, we're gonna look at it. It looks more of a downgrade here. It now loses to Giratina Altered, loses to Feraligatr, beats Swampert more, but it already destroyed Swampert, can beat Jellicent now, but loses more to Trevenant. Overall, I don't think it's gonna be as good of a choice in the Ultra League. So overall, Shadow Cresselia is a cool grab to get, but I don't think by any means it's essential. And for most people, it might be better to stack your radar. So how do you do that? Well, the number one stacking technique in Pokemon Go is to actually not do your research at all. Yes, it's not called stacking your radar, but it's called stacking your research. How the strategy goes is pretty much when you get the new Giovanni research, whatever ends up being called, go ahead and don't complete page 1, just leave it. Just leave it as is. This is because you can only have one Giovanni research at a time. However, if you've never even started the research, it technically doesn't count you of having a Giovanni research. So if you just leave it, you don't touch it, don't go past page 1, you can hold on to that research, which of course at the end will get you a radar to battle Giovanni. And then when the next Team Rocket event comes out, you'll get the new research because technically in your game, it's saying that you haven't actually started the research, you don't have one, so here's another. Then you can go ahead and stack all those researches. You can do that 3, 4, 5 unlimited times. And then when you are ready to battle Giovanni and take his Shadow Legendary, for example, Shadow Rayquaza finally comes out, then complete all the researches, get all the radars, battle Giovanni 2, 3, 4, 5 times, get 5 Shadow Rayquazas, Bob's your uncle. I'll link below a video if you want to learn more about that technique and how it goes in depth. Now let's talk about the Shadow Raids. Which ones are the best to go after? Because we do have a decent amount of them. First of all, Shadow Mareep, which you can of course evolve into Shadow Ampharos. Shadow Ampharos is a good Ultra League Pokemon. Shadow Wooper's in the Shadow Raids. Shadow Wooper evolves into Shadow Quagsire, which is a Pokemon that does see play in the Great League. Shadow Cranidos is in Raids, which evolves into Shadow Rampardos, the #1 rock type raid attacker in Pokemon Go. Super high DPS, great Pokemon. Shadow Shieldon's in there, which evolves into Shadow Bastiodon, a decent Great League Pokemon. Although I will say regular Bastiodon a little bit better. It's a similar situation where it's a super bulky Pokemon, so having the Shadow doesn't help it as much. In the 3-star raids, unfortunately, there's really not any good Shadows to go after. But of course, Shadow Lugia in the 5-star raids on the weekend is going to be an amazing Master League Pokemon, a very good Pokemon to go after. So definitely go ahead and take that down. Okay, because we want to talk about Frustration. Shadow Pokemon, of course, come with the Legacy move Frustration, which you can go ahead and find all the ones that you know by searching at Frustration. This shows me all the Pokemon I have that know Frustration. Now, normally, of course, like right now, I can't go ahead and use a TM to remove it, but during this event, you can, and then once it's gone forever. So I quickly want to show you, this is exactly the strategy on how to remove Frustration quickly. Now, number one thing you can do is before the event actually starts is come through here and make a tag. Make a tag by selecting these Shadow Pokemon that you know have good IVs and you want to remove Frustration from. And then you can go ahead and tag these Frustration remove, rem, whatever. And then you can go ahead and come through the tag and simply go through them. What I like to do though is right before the Team Rocket event is done, set a reminder, come into here, search at Frustration, and then you can go ahead and come through all these Pokemon, check their IVs, and quickly remove Frustration. Once you've removed Frustration, they'll actually instantly be taken out of this search bar because they don't know the move Frustration anymore. In my opinion, that's the quickest way to remove Frustration and what I normally do on the last day of the Team Go Rocket event. If you want to know how to get a lot of charge gems, since you do need a decent amount to remove Frustration, I'll link below my video. Finally, let's talk about Platinum Medal tips. You need 35 Platinum Medals, go from level 48 to 49 in Pokemon Go. Which one should we be working on during this event? First of all, the Hero Medal, defeat 2,000 Team Go Rocket members. They're going to be everywhere, Pokestops, balloons, all that stuff. Go ahead and take them down during this event to work on this medal. We also have the Purifier Medal, purify 1,000 Shadow Pokemon. Now I'm going to put on screen a search bar, which will search all the Shadow Pokemon that only take 1,000 Stardust to purify. Those are the ones you're definitely going to want to go ahead and purify because they're going to be the completely cheapest. But if you have a Pokemon that costs 3,000 Stardust to purify, you're planning on transferring it because the IVs are trash, purify once, go ahead to get points towards this medal. Of course, we have the Ultra Hero Medal, defeat the Team Go Rocket boss 50 times. I don't even think there's been 50 Black Rocket Raiders to do this, but you can go ahead, of course, work on this medal if you plan on battling Shadow Cresselia, or you can just stack the radar and work on it later. We have the Rising Star Medal, defeat 150 species of Pokemon in raids. Of course, we have those Shadow Raids, the Shadow Lugias, and all the 1s and 3 stars. Go ahead and raid any of the Pokemon you've never raided at least once. For example, I've never raided a Shadow Manectric or a Manectric, so I'm going to go ahead ahead and do a Manectric raid to get a point towards this medal. And of course, we have the showcases. So the showcase star medal will win 100 Pokestop showcases, a great medal to work on. Always drop into your rural showcases, not the ones in the busy areas. Less competition, higher chance of winning to work on this medal. And of course, get that PhD Pikachu once you defeat it. Now guys, if you're curious what the best Shadow Pokemon are in Pokemon Go, watch the video below. I just recently dropped this, so it's a fully updated list. Of course, you got to include Shadow Timber now in the fighting category, but go ahead and check that video out if you're a little bit curious. And good luck during the Team Rocket event. Hope you guys have fun because we've been waiting for this event for a while. Follow for tips. Peace.